Welcome to the Sandman After Show. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And we're here. We're talking about Sandman. The time has finally come. Netflix, Sandman. It's happening.
Dude, I was so pumped when I originally heard they were doing this. Then it went quiet during pandemic shutdown. And I thought it was a death of the pandemic, and then it came back. I was so ready for today.
I know you have been. Now, did you read the comic and stuff before they announced this show?
Yes, I read
Yeah.
the comic itself. I'm the graphic novel. I also listened to Amazon's audio version of it as well. I've been through the audio version probably 4 or 5 times, and then there's the graphic novel I've also kind of been through. So I was as ready for this as any other show that we've ever covered outside of some Star Wars stuff.
So here's the deal. We're going to cover the Sandman in 3 parts. With Netflix, it's a little unique because they do their binge watch model, right? So they've
Yes.
already dropped all 11 episodes. We're going to cover the first episode here tonight while it's still fresh. All these episodes just came out today, Friday. And then we'll cover an additional 5 episodes at the beginning of next week, either Monday, Tuesday night. And then we'll wrap up with a 3rd episode of our show, talking about the last half of season 1 of The Sandman. We'll be here next weekend talking about that. But just your overall thoughts of this first episode so far.
Overall thoughts is I thought it did a great job following what the comic was
Hmm.
and setting the rest of the season up. That's all this episode was.
Yeah.
This episode here was strictly just the launching point of where this show is going to go. And I enjoyed remember how I was saying I was judging shows by how many times I picked up my phone?
Right.
I never picked it up. Now, granted,
Yeah,
I'm
I
a
can
little
say that
different.
too. Yeah, it kept me engaged. I never picked up my phone either. I will say though, I enjoyed it. I thought the visuals were great. I thought the acting was good. Like the casting seems to be pretty well
Yes.
done so far. I will say it almost I felt good until I saw the upcoming. I did watch like a little preview of
Yeah,
this
I watched
season
that too.
on the
Yeah.
Sandman, and I just saw like the wild visuals, and it stuff just seems to be bigger in the next few episodes, like later on in the season.
It
So
gets a lot.
it
Yes.
made this episode feel like a pilot, kind of, which is kind of weird after the fact. But yeah, I mean, I thought as far as the first episode goes, it really kind of draws you in, but it seems like it's going to get weirder from here.
It's gonna get wild.
Yeah.
I mean, just knowing what I know, and you made it very clear to me that I can only watch episode 1 because I'm gonna dive too far into it and go beyond what our, episode 1 review is. But,
Yeah.
what did you think as an outsider looking in when the story was going along? What
Yeah.
did you think about some of the things that was happening?
I only knew the broad strokes of this world, right? As far as Morpheus and his powers as the Sandman. He is the Sandman, right? He goes
Yeah,
by
he's the
many names,
Sandman.
I guess. The
Yeah.
Lord of Slumber and whatever. I don't know. Yeah. So they
Oh,
did an
I can drop a
explainer.
Kaikul on you and no one will know what that means.
I won't know what that means.
Kaikul.
But he did a little like which I appreciated. There was a bit of a voiceover here in the introduction. We see his pet crow or pet raven kind
Would've
of
been
fly
Matthew.
from the real world into the dream world. And they gave just a brief tour of his kingdom as it is right now,
Yes.
which was helpful because when you see it at the very end of this episode, it doesn't look like this anymore.
Yeah, no, 100 years basically after this took place, because the guy that's standing on the bridge at Dr. Hathaway
Hmm.
is sleeping while he's going to see Roderick Burgess.
Right.
So once he gets there and he gives Burgess that book, and then they capture Dream or,
Hmm.
Morpheus or whatever you want to call him, that's when everything starts falling apart. And I liked how they did that, how they did it to time jump. It was just kind of gradual. It was never really jarring on how they did the time jump, but they also explained what was going on, which I thought was well done. I loved it. The only thing I've heard negative about the show, and I
Hmm.
didn't think this, was that it was too dark. I didn't catch the too dark. I thought the dark was perfect for the tone.
Oh yeah, show would be weird if it because the comics, the original comic books and the drawings, they were done in like black and white, right? A very kind of sketchy style that was very like gothic and early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So I thought it fit pretty well. Almost like you remember like Frank Miller's Sin City, how that was black and white
Yeah.
with pops of color. Like I thought it was very stylistic. It went with the tone of the original comic book run.
But
which
man,
is Neil Gaiman, by the way. We haven't said his name yet.
yeah, we haven't
Neil
said Neil Gaiman,
Gaiman.
and I love how not only did Neil Gaiman bring Sandman to the pages,
Yeah,
he is a massive part of this series. So
right.
every decision that's being made, if they can't do something for copyright issues, he is the one that's giving them the direction on how to go forward, which gives me a lot of comfort.
Oh yeah, anytime the original creator of something gives their stamp of approval, I mean that's a good sign. And somebody as I wouldn't, not necessarily popular, but like applauded as Neil Gaiman. Like for those who know Neil Gaiman's work, they're all about Neil Gaiman, whether it's
Yeah,
the Sandman or all his other stuff. Like they're all about him. So his seal of approval means a lot to a lot of people. So yeah, what's this doctor's name? He goes and sees Charles, who by the way, Charles Dance is in this show. Uh,
yeah,
Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones.
yes.
Awesome. He was total surprised. I was like, "Oh, I
Oh,
know
you didn't
him.
know that?
I didn't know he was in this show."
Oh, okay, yeah. No, dude, he played a fantastic Roderick Burgess.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. And what I love about this is these two characters here. You have Doctor Hathaway, who's on the right there, just his head,
Right.
and then on the left you have Burgess. They're both being driven by wanting their sons back,
Yes.
and that's why they're trying to capture Death, thinking that they capture Death, they can bring back their kids, their
Right.
sons. But in reality, it wouldn't even work that way.
Yeah. Anytime you bring folks back from the dead, it's not going to work the way you think it is. So,
Yeah, no.
never a good idea. But yeah, seeing Charles Dance is a big surprise, and he had a big part in this episode. Is he? I don't know if I should ask, but I will ask. Is he going to return in this series at all, or is
No,
he
he's done.
okay?
Yeah, no,
So
it
that was
was
a
a
one and
one deal
done for
thing.
him.
Basically, his role in the comic, in the show, everything that is going here is basically capturing Dream. When he
Right.
captures Morpheus, instead of capturing Death, Morpheus' sister. Sorry, spoiler
Mm,
out there.
there you go.
Uh, she's one of the endless. So
Okay.
when they say the endless, when they were going through Desire, Dream, Death,
Yeah.
all of those, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the family of the endless.
Okay, gotcha. So he
And he
caught the
caught the
wrong
wrong one.
one.
He caught the wrong one, yes.
Is that, are there this may be going to spoiler territory too, but is there a reason he ended up catching the wrong one? Is it just proximity, like Dream was the closest one to him, or like what happened there?
Honestly, I don't wanna say I honestly know. I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly why he captured, Morpheus over his sister Death,
Yeah.
but you've seen the ramifications immediately. The minute Morpheus was caught and basically and captured,
Mhm.
the sleep sickness set in. Either
Mhm.
people were not being able to sleep, or they were not being able to wake up, or they
Yeah.
said they were even like sleepwalking, and it was 100 years worth of that taking place on Earth. And there's ramifications that happen later too
Mhm.
that we'll find out. I can't get into, but that happens later on in the series.
So here Morpheus was in the real world, basically doing a task, bringing
This
one
is
of his
different.
nightmares home. Oh,
This is
really?
this is
Okay.
different. This
Okay.
isn't something that was in the graphic novel that I know of, or even in the audiobook that I've listened to many times.
Okay.
The book and everything starts off with him getting caught. Basically, Burgess and Hathaway and all that going through their line, and then him in the incantation and catching him.
Mhm.
Morpheus coming to the real world to catch the Corinthian, who we're looking at right there, which I am stoked to see. That
Yeah.
oh man, I was pumped to see him.
That was a
And how
pretty
much
cool introduction to this character between this scene and his scene with Charles Dance later in the episode. He was pretty cool.
did you catch how much he feared him? He
How much
feared Morpheus.
Oh, in this scene for sure. Oh yeah, I got that for sure.
In
Yeah.
general, he fears him.
Yeah.
Like he knows he can't stand with him. So he's going to try to do everything in his power to, circumvent that.
Because he was immediately like in this picture. I mean, he was immediately on his knees, just begging for like Lord Morpheus to have mercy on him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
you
was
could tell the fear. Um, but this is the moment that basically Morpheus gets swept away into the grip of Charles Dance's character. What's his character's name again?
it's Roderick Burgess.
Roderick Burgess, who captures and this is how Morpheus spends the remainder of this episode is in this guy's basement, which is not a good spot to be in, I would say. So, and then there's also Burgess's son. Is he? I mean, he also dies in this. episode, right? So we kind of get introductions to this family, and it doesn't seem like we're going to spend a lot of time with them.
And we don't either. I mean, basically, they followed the graphic novel to a T in this first
Okay.
episode. Minus, the Corinthian being there. For the most part, they went step by step. They gave us 100 years. I didn't know how exactly they were going to handle that.
Right.
They gave us Alex, who was actually, sympathetic, but at the end he wasn't. And as soon as they broke you know, that circle,
Hmm.
dream was Morpheus was able to go ahead and make someone dream and get out, the whole deal.
Right.
And really, he didn't kill Alex. He punished him with eternal dreaming.
Mm.
So he basically he could have essentially put him in a coma, and he's just laying there dreaming for however long that he stays alive.
Yeah, which that was something I didn't really follow. If he was like putting him into, I think he said like an endless slumber. So maybe that does make sense. But the guy was old by that point anyway. We see him as a little kid.
Yeah.
But eventually he becomes, as old as, well, maybe even older than his dad was, Roderick,
Oh yeah, his
when he
dad. Yeah, he
passed.
basically killed his dad. He got into a fight and shoved him into the
Yeah.
basically the prison and bashed his head, and he
Is
fell
that
down.
something that happened in the graphic novel too?
Honestly, I'm not
It,
sure. I don't remember exactly. I know Roderick Burgess dies, but I'm
yeah.
not sure exactly if it's old age or if it's something like that. And that may have been something just that was slightly tweaked for the show itself.
So Roderick Burgess, when he captures Morpheus, he takes three items away, right? His
Yes.
helmet, his pouch of sand, and some sort of like ruby
And
necklace
his ruby,
thing.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's setting up the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Because I think the rest of the majority of this season is him going ahead and reclaiming these items.
Okay.
The sand is the easiest thing to get,
Hmm.
honestly, and it's I think it winds up still with Ethel,
Okay.
the one that leaves because Burgess wants her to have an abortion,
Right.
and her son actually plays a big part down the road.
Yeah, she calls him Johnny. I did notice that. So is that her son, who we see in baby form in this episode? I guess they come into play later.
Yes, and there's time jumping in the
Yeah.
show. If we've already seen that, and they've done a good job of doing it so far. But yeah, he plays a big part of it. I can't wait because the helm is in hell. I'll just a
Hmm.
little bit of spoiler here. The helm goes to hell. The sand is with Ethel, and she also has the actual ruby. But the ruby winds up in her son's hands. So Dream has to go to her son to get that. And I can't wait to see how they handle that.
Do these different items or talismans have like unique individual power sets or anything, or like what's the importance of them so far? I don't.
The ruby basically is all his powers combined. Like he can
Mhm.
control basically anything, everything with it. He used his powers to form the ruby,
Okay.
and that has like when you've seen him standing in front of the Corinthian in the beginning of this episode, he's holding his ruby, and basically the Corinthian is becoming sand,
Hmm.
so he can encompass everyone with that. His basically his sand can put you into a dream, basically make you hallucinate. He can
Oh,
put you into his realm
right.
with the sand, and
Okay.
the helm is more of like a I'm not sure exactly the powers behind the helm,
Just to
but I
scare
know
people.
it's yeah. I mean, it's yeah for all intents and purposes.
It did a pretty good job. It's kind of a creepy thing. It reminded me of those, doctor's masks back in the
I
days.
think it's supposed to be the bottom of that.
Yeah.
If I remember right, it's supposed to be like an elephant uh, spinal cord or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah,
something
that's
down those
creepy.
lines. Yeah, yeah, creepy as hell.
So Roderick, he ends up getting a visit from, what's his character's name again? The
The
nightmare that
Corinthian.
escaped. The Corinthian, yeah. I thought this was a very interesting scene. The Corinthian's basically, you know right away that he's showing up at his door, impressed that he was able to capture Morpheus, and basically just giving him little pointers, little tips, like, "Hey, you want to keep him in there as long as possible. It benefits me, and here's how you do it."
And if you let him out, you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was interesting. Even Roderick was a little bit hesitant as first as far as just kind of trusting this guy. Oh, and I thought it was so funny. Was like, he asked him as he was leaving and Corinthian was leaving. He was like, "Will I ever see you again?" Corinthian was like, "You better hope not."
Yeah, you better not. What do you think of Jasmine, the black and white raven that we've seen?
Well, I am aware that Patton Oswalt eventually voices some other bird in this show, so I'm assuming
Matthew.
that
Yeah.
it was more than just a bird, especially by his reaction. He was Morpheus was pretty upset when that bird was killed.
Yeah. Yeah. I was waiting to see Matthew. When I seen it was black and white, I was like, okay, that's not Matthew.
Right.
And Matthew plays a big part in everything. He's basically his eyes. Like if something needs to be done, he sends Matthew to go do it so he can continue doing something else.
Yeah, it was kind of I did get that a little bit. I think you got a little bit of a sense when this first bird with the white crest was kind of flying through the mansion, and I got the feeling that Morpheus was kind of seeing through its eyes. It seems like he doesn't really have all or any of his powers though, as he's kind of
Oh
locked
no,
away in
he
this
is sucked
basement.
completely dry. No,
Yeah,
he is going to be struggling. Like at the end of this episode, you see him laying back in his realm in
right.
Dream,
Yeah.
and he is barely be able to stand up. And Lucian helps him up, and then she basically lets him know, say, "Hey, things aren't the same."
Hmm.
Once he goes through the gate, what that was an awesome view when he actually panned up the wall and
Yeah.
they're looking. That had Game of Thrones like the North
Yes.
Wall feel to it.
Yeah, I got some of those vibes too. As far as just like the cinematography and like the settings, it was cool like that. I loved when that first bird too was just kind of like it went to the game room with all the stuffed, animals, and just because that's when Charles Dance's character came in and just kind of like stood still so he wouldn't notice the bird.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. It shows that this bird has more intelligence. It's not just a bird,
it's
There's
not
something else
just
going
yeah,
on there.
exactly. It's not just a bird.
Um, so basically we have Alex here. Alex is the son of Roderick, and there is a time skip. Initially, the first part of the episode, he's just a boy. It skips about 10 years or so. He's kind of living and with they're partying up at this mansion, right? He's got
Yeah.
Roderick's got all the money, the jewels, the luck in life. It seems like, and
Well,
this woman shows up to a
that's all
party.
because of the jewel and everything. That jewel is
Yeah,
bringing him all of that.
I
The
did
minute
get
he
that.
left,
Yeah.
lost all that, when Ethel took off with it, he knew it was over.
Okay. And then do you think does Ethel show up at this party knowing about all that stuff, or is she
Oh, I
just happen
guarantee. I don't know about the items. I don't think she'll know about the items. She was there because he was wealthy
okay.
and in magic and all that good stuff. So that kind of attracted her to him.
Because as far as Ethel's character this episode, it went really fast because we're introduced to her in this scene with Alex kind of introducing, and we don't even see her and Charles dance together in the next scene. And then we're supposed to, I guess, assume that they've been together long enough for her to be pregnant and kind
Yeah.
of in the house and like, no, she's waking up in the house and she's a known entity in the house. You know what I mean? So it seems like there's some time that's passed. But yeah, she ends up getting pregnant by Roderick, and he doesn't want her to keep the baby, and she's very upset, and she takes off.
Yeah. Yeah. Not just takes off, but takes off with everything. But hey,
Yeah.
guys, real quick here. If you're new to us, you're watching us for the first time, you're watching us break down, the Sandman here. First of all, welcome. I mean, it's awesome to have you. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like Sean was saying at the beginning here, we're doing episode 1 today. So we didn't watch the rest of them. So if you're going to interact with us, please be careful with spoilers. Uh, we're doing, I think, through episode 6 early this week, Monday, Tuesday, and then the remaining will be either Friday or Saturday next week. So
Mhm.
keep tuned. We're going to go through this. I'm already loving it. I'm getting the vibe that Sean kind of enjoys it so far as well. But let's just go ahead and continue with this conversation here.
So Alex, since he's a little boy, even he's got some issues with his dad doing that. He's not a big fan of his dad. You get a clear understanding of what that relationship is like between the
Yeah.
two. Roderick clearly preferred his dead son over his current son, who's still living. It was giving me, Lord of the Rings, Faramir Boromir vibes a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but so yeah, this poor kid is growing up, seeing that this magic entity is trapped here in the basement of the mansion, but he does have like sympathy and empathy for this thing. And well, I say this thing, this whatever Morpheus
Whatever
is. I'm not
Morpheus
sure.
truly
This
is. Yeah.
godlike thing, right? Um, but uh, so the whole time I was kind of like thinking, well, Alex is definitely gonna free Morpheus, but it never ends up happening. I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't say I was thinking that because I knew.
Yeah.
But I like the fact because they held to the comic. Morpheus just sat there for 100 years, didn't say a word.
Right.
He just waited for his opportunity to come. And as soon as that opportunity came, he struck
Yeah.
and got out. And like, oh, that was so great. I love that the how they did the blue and he stepped out and he did the beach sand and blew it and basically put the guards to sleep. And then
Yeah.
he pulled himself back into that little like portal he went through. That whole thing was fantastic. Then the Black Cat situation.
Yeah, I did know. Yeah, the Black Cat. Is there something deeper than that as far as?
No, I think it was just him manifesting himself somewhere else and
Yeah.
pulling Alex up to a different area.
Yeah. So once we mentioned this, but once Alex shot and killed the bird, that was kind of it. Once that happened, I knew that Morpheus seems like Morpheus was doubling down. Like
Oh
he
yeah,
had
he had
already stayed
tears.
quiet. Yeah, he had already been quiet for 10 years up to that point, but at that point, he really decided, like, no, I don't even like this Alex kid. I'm going to continue to keep quiet for the remainder of like 100 years. I mean, this was only like 10, 15 years, and he kept silent for another, what, 80, 85 years in this
Yeah,
mansion?
it was a total span of 100 years that took place.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy here. I'm trying to go through and scroll through and see if there's any other scenes here.
There was
Um,
something while you look for that. There was something I caught as a fan of the show in the opening, and even after when they went back to Dream's Realm,
yeah,
when it was all kind of in shambles.
right.
I seen a gargoyle and I cheered. There's a gargoyle named Gilbert
Yeah.
in the show, and I was like, "They got Gilbert!" I was so happy. Now I just need to see Cain and Abel.
I get the feeling that you're gonna wind up seeing a cast of characters be introduced in this next episode. I know, and you're chomping at the bit too. You're probably gonna watch more tonight,
Oh, I'm
aren't you?
watching at least 2 to 3 more tonight. Once we're done here, I already told my wife said she's got one of the TV. She's gonna pick one, and then I'm gonna watch more episodes because she's finishing up the Marvelous Miss Maisel or something like that. She's
Yes,
finishing
right.
that. So I was like, okay, you do that while we're doing this, and then I'm gonna start watching more of mine because it really sucked hitting stop on the button earlier today.
So he's in this basement for 100 years. The Corinthian has already given this family directives like, hey, have this thing on guard 24/7 and give your guard like, speed pills so they stay awake down there. No sleeping down there in the basement.
Yeah,
Not
don't
good.
fall asleep. Yeah,
And of course, after 100 years, the guards get a little lackadaisical. Alex is pretty much fed up with this dude and he's kind of on his way out, right?
but it was
Um,
Alex that one that did it because he was in the wheelchair, and when they pushed him out, they actually broke the circle,
they broke the seal, yeah.
and, and that's when Morpheus put one of the guards to sleep,
Right. Yeah, that
and
was his
then
opportunity.
that was it.
And yeah, so it was almost like a little bit of both, whether it was like, whether it was meant to happen or if it was just them being, doing it on accident, just being after so many years, just being like over the whole thing. Um,
I think Alex was done. He said, "I'm not coming. I'm never coming back down here again."
yeah. But Morpheus finally escapes, gets to go home, and home is just, you can't go home again. Home isn't how he left it.
Yeah, I was trying to see if that was the picture with the gargoyle flying over, but it's not.
No, so you
But
did
anyway,
see the gargoyle even at the end here, because I
yeah,
saw him in the beginning when they were doing that flyover into the realm. I did see that gargoyle flying, but
I'm
you saw him
pretty
here,
sure
huh?
I seen him with it being like completely in the shambles too.
Okay.
But it'd be maybe hard to even find.
And this is
But
the
yeah,
whole. This is where they get into the whole this season on, which was that was a good move
yeah. Oh yeah, I
because it made
decided
me
to go.
excited for the rest of.
I am pumped that you like it because
Yeah,
I was unsure because I mean outside of Star Wars, this is the one property that I'm big into that you're not.
right.
So me knowing what I'm knowing going into it and knowing the directions on how this is going to go. Oh, I hit my mic. I'm super excited about it.
I did say the trailers for Morpheus's character kind of gave me Edward Cullen vibes, but I'm not feeling that quite as much now. Now that I've seen the guy more, I've heard him
Yeah,
speak. How do you feel about his casting as the Sandman so
I
far?
like it. I
Yeah,
like the gauntness of him. I like this.
he's gone.
I like all of that about. I think it was a perfect casting. And what I hope they continue to do is more voiceover work with
Yeah.
him, more than him talking, because we
Hmm.
hear him talking. They did that really well in the audiobook. You heard a lot of him talking like internally monologue rather than him talking to somebody. Now there's
Hmm.
plenty of that as well. Definitely when there's interactions with him and his sister. I hope they go ahead and use a scene where there's a kid playing outside, interacts with his sister, and she's like, "I'll see you later." Whole type thing that happens.
Hmm.
It's a cool interaction in the book or the graphic novel and the audiobook. So there's a lot of that I'm looking forward to. But I personally, I can't wait till we go to hell. I
Go to
want
hell.
I want to see hell. I mean, there's so much. I mean, Gwendolyn Christie,
Yeah.
playing Lucifer Morningstar. That's. I mean, that's gonna be awesome. And then just knowing what takes place in hell, how he walks by an ex-lover of his, who calls him. I said it earlier. Guy Gal, or it's something that took place a long time ago, which
See,
they get
that's why we're
into.
doing this thing one
Oh,
episode and then in chunks, because you could just go off the rails and start talking about this whole thing, and I'm just like,
you're
okay,
just nodding along, but dude, I what I really want to see there, because in the first one, in the first audiobook and everything, and then the novel they're pulling from, they don't dive too much into the endless. You
hmm.
get Morpheus and you get death. You don't get desire. You don't get there's man, I'm blanking on the other ones.
Yeah.
I'm curious if they're going to dive too much into those ones there.
I'm curious if they're going to, because I don't know the format. I know there was original story that kind of revamped the character back in the day, or took an existing character and kind of remade. I don't know. It was kind of hazy as far as this interpretation of the Sandman back in the late '80s that Neil Gaiman kind of made for everybody.
Oh, we got someone joining us back since Invasion days.
Hey, what's up? Glad to have you
Welcome
back.
back.
Yeah, we're talking Sandman now on Netflix. Hopefully you get to watch it here. It's great.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with the Flowers in the Attic, so that'd
I
be
think I'm
something maybe to
familiar with
look
that
at.
book. If I'm remembering right, that was a book that I at least covered back in Flowers in the Attic, the origin. I don't know. We will have to check that out. I'll look into that and see what's going on there. But yeah, right now we are covering the Sandman. Any final thoughts in the first episode here? I know you just are ready to move on to watch the rest of the season.
I want to see, like I said, I want to see Cain and Abel. I personally want to see how they're going to do Dr. Destiny,
Yeah,
because that may be the way it happens in the comic, the way it happens in the audiobook. It may be too far for them to actually do basically a carbon copy of what happened.
right.
But it's going to be interesting because there's characters in that you're going to know. If they're able to bring the characters in, there's going to be names that and
Hmm.
locations that so that's going to be fun. I wanted to see if they do the serial convention. That's a big part of the Corinthian storyline.
Hmm.
That also has a lot to do with Rose Walker and other stories that go forward. Dude,
Yeah, the
I'm ready.
bunch of stuff that I don't know of yet. Look, I just was introduced to this mansion, this family, and now I'm ready to have my mind blown. Starting with episode 2,
I
because we didn't
hope
get
the
to spend
quality
any
stays
time.
where it is that.
It looks like it's going to. As far as that little snippet we got, as far as the rest of the season, I mean, it looks crazy, but it looks like it's still shot really well and acted really well. So, and you even mentioned like actors like Gwendolyn Christie and Patton Oswalt are people that I've enjoyed in other stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. We've got another batch of 5 episodes that we're going to cover probably Monday night. So we're going to cover episode 2 through 5. So we need to get to binge watching the rest of the series.
I was tempted to actually take today off and watch them all, but I knew you put the reins on me and I can only watch one, so it wasn't worth taking the day off for one episode.
You'll get a bigger chunk, bigger bite next time around, and then we'll finish it out next week. So be sure to join us for that. If you're new to the channel, we are also currently covering Big Brother on CBS. It was the first time for us to cover any kind of reality TV. And we've been Big Brother fans for decades. Sadly, at this point, it's been a long time.
Sadly.
But yeah, Big Brother this season so far is really good. We just covered an eviction show last night, so be sure to check that out if you're into Big Brother. And of course, we always do the big trailer reactions. Dad and Rock reacts. If there's a big trailer that's going to drop, we're going to react to it. And then coming up, I mean, after Sandman, we've got just a ton of other great shows that are coming out, including Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, the new Game of Thrones, House of Dragons show that's coming out. All kinds of fun stuff that we're going to cover. So be sure to stay tuned to the channel for that.
There we go. So I think it's a good point to go ahead and know it. I'm just going to say keep it cheesy this week. What do you think?
All right. See ya.